Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Philosophy in the Forest. I'm Shasta, and this is my Australian Shepherd Ziggy, and we're joining you from the big island of Hawaii in the Puna district. Today, I'm going to be talking about Plato's Symposium. And the Symposium is a very influential text. It influenced not only portions of Gnosticism, but also Neoplatonism and later writers like Paulinus. So the Symposium was written in approximately 385 to 370 BCE, and it's a dialogue. It's a dinner party. It's a dinner party of noble men, and it was definitely a stag do. And it reminds me a lot of Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, because in this symposium there would be dining and there would be salacious activities. The only women who were present were most likely dancers or perhaps concubines. And so the interesting thing about the symposium is that they discuss love. What is love? And it takes place at a nobleman's house named Aganon, and Socrates is there, as well as Aristophanes. And the first person to speak is a young man, and he kind of speaks to love in the form of like youth and youthful desire. And his interpretation of love is almost like that of Romeo and Juliet, something that burns deeply and is passionate and romantic and sexual, and that it's not limited just between men and women, but it can also be homosexual. But love itself is physical, and it's desire. And he also speaks about sacrificing for your lover. And I like this idea because I do feel like the first person to describe love in this story almost speaks to like a Shakespearean tragedy. The next person who talks about love is a legal scholar, and he talks about love. Actually, he's really into the idea of homoerotic love, and his ideal love is very much with the tradition of the day where an older man would be in love with a younger man and sort of train this younger man in the ways of the Athenians. Now, this was the 4th century BCE. This is a long time ago. Times have probably changed. And for him, it's this heavenly love. It's where you have this beloved, and the beloved in this case is a younger man. And the older man helps the younger man develop into something beautiful. So love is this nurturing. I mean, you could think of love in that way, maybe in a less salacious way, as a gardener loves their garden. And so the next person talks again about physical desire, about erotic love, about this person's a doctor, so they actually talk about how healthy it is to have sexual desire and how healthy sex is for the body. So the first speakers here talk about love in the physical form. And next, the interpretation of love is one that I like a lot. It's because it's from a playwright. Aristophanes begins to talk about love as this creature that people were. They were once both male and female, bound together, and they rolled around the earth. And they thought they were so special that, like many others in these olden times, decided to storm Olympus, and Zeus smited them by cutting them in half. And when these beings were separated from themselves, they were lonely, and love is the reuniting with this other half. And this story is explored in the movie Hedwig and the Angry Inch. So there's a beautiful song called The Origin of Love, which does a beautiful tribute to Aristophanes' description of what love is. And then, as usual in Plato's work, it's Socrates who kind of comes along and speaks of love and really steals the show, I suppose. And Socrates is sitting, at the back table and sort of making jokes to himself. And he talks about this woman that he met. And this is really interesting because this woman named Diotima is the one who taught Socrates about love. So who is she? She's not his wife. Perhaps she's, I guess this is such an old time. We just assume she's a prostitute. But he starts to talk, again, it's like a play within a play, a mise en bime, is that Socrates begins to speak about his dialogue with this woman. And this woman tells him what love is, that love is more than just the love of beautiful things, that love is actually this relationship between Poros, the god of wealth, and Penia, maybe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the goddess of poverty. So love is this relationship between wealth and poverty, and they actually produce a child that is helplessness, and it's this delicate child who is like halfway between, that love is this space between two things, but it's also a creation, so the creation of a child. So Diotima explains that love is not a god, that other people or a mortal, but it's actually a daemon, a spirit halfway between God and man. It's like a love spirit, a great spirit. Both Diotima and Socrates agree to that. And there was this banquet of the gods to celebrate the birth of Aphrodite, and one of the guests was, of course, the god of wealth, the god of abundance. And he got passed out from drinking too much nectar, and this is like before the days of wine. And in this, the goddess of poverty came to beg at the banquet, and she sees the god of abundance laying there and thinks that she should create a child with him. And it's this thing then that Diotima argues, that love is the relationship between ignorance and wisdom, that love is this midpoint, that in love we attempt to overcome ignorance. And she then explains that love is also this wanting and this desire. So beyond this idea of like what is ugly and what is beautiful, because love came out of this birthing experience, that love is this like fetus that grows inside of people that we give birth to, and in that there's this creative process that manifests, and that love becomes this relationship with the creative, and that love is this powerful uniting process because it gives human beings the ability to create. And so love becomes a muse, and love is a way of inspiring artists and bringing people closer to their innate ability to create. So we move from love as physical love, love as sacrifice, to love as passion, creation, and exploration of our other self. So thank you so much for joining me. Aloha, everyone.